In 1593, during the 21st year of the Wanli Emperor's reign, the Korean peninsula was ablaze. Japan had launched a massive invasion, quickly seizing cities and overwhelming the Joseon dynasty. The Korean royal court was forced into retreat, and defeat seemed inevitable. This campaign would later be known as the Imjin War. But across the Yellow Sea, the Ming Empire could not remain indifferent. Emperor Wanli made a decisive move, sent troops to aid Korea, push back the Japanese, and preserve the stability of East Asia. Leading this expedition was one of the Ming Dynasty's most capable generals, Li Rusong, seasoned in frontier warfare and now entrusted with turning the tide of the war. What followed was one of the most brilliant ambushes in Chinese military history, the Battle of Bichigogwan.
In 1592, Toyotomi Hideyoshi launched his ambitious campaign to conquer Korea and eventually Ming China. The Joseon court was caught off guard, suffering defeat after defeat. As a tributary state of the Ming, Korea sent urgent requests for help to its suzerain. Emperor Wanli responded, ordering a full-scale military intervention to halt the Japanese advance and secure the Ming's northeastern frontier. General Li Rusong swiftly mobilized elite troops along the Liaodong coast. He led tens of thousands of soldiers setting sail from ports like Dengzhou and Lushun, crossing the Yellow Sea aboard hundreds of warships. The winter winds were harsh and the waters treacherous, but morale ran high. Li Rusong declared,
"We shall not return unless we destroy the enemy."
After landing on the northwestern coast of Korea, the Ming army pushed south through Uiju and Pyongyang, gradually approaching the Japanese front lines. Near a place called Bichigogwan, Li Rusong and his army halted. There he saw opportunity not in strength, but in terrain. As Sun Tzu once said,
"Know the terrain, and you will never be defeated."
Li would let the land itself fight this battle. The terrain near Bichigogwan was rugged and steep. A narrow valley lay between two high ridges, like the mouth of a pot, wide at the top, but tight at the base. According to the art of war, such terrain was called dangerous ground, and also supporting ground, a place where retreat is difficult, and defense can be turned into attack. Li Rusong immediately recognized the advantage. The valley could lure the enemy in, while his troops occupied the heights. The moment the enemy was deep enough, the trap would snap shut. Li began his preparations. He positioned archers and gunners along the ridgelines hidden in the trees and rocks. Cannons were set up to create overlapping fields of fire across the valley. Infantry hid behind slopes and brush, silent and ready, and in the rear his elite cavalry waited for the final blow. The valley was quiet. The wind rustled the leaves. Birds flew overhead. But hidden beneath this calm was death. Sun Tzu said,
"The master of defense hides beneath the earth. The master of attack strikes from the sky."
Li Rusong was ready. At the southern edge of Bichigogwan, inside a Japanese forward camp, a strategy meeting was underway. A scout was kneeling.
"My lord, Ming forces spotted in the valley. Small in number, scattered. No sign of a main force."
Japanese commander smirked.
Once again just scattered scouts, making noise. Since their arrival, when have they fought us head-on?
He turned, addressing the officers around him.
These Chinese, always scheming, never daring. Tricks and illusions. Let's see how they fare in real combat.
One of the veteran officers leaned forward, his voice low with concern.
"My lord, the valley is steep and forested. If they've set an ambush..."
Korea is full of mountains. If we feared every tree and hill, we would have never made it to Hansong.
The commander cut him off. Another officer spoke with hesitation.
"It is said the Ming general is Li Rusong. He has a strong reputation."
A frontier warlord. He won't trap me.
The commander scoffed. He stood, drawing his sword and slamming it down onto the map.
Order the troops into the valley. We'll crush them and end this farce.
Trumpets sounded. Flags rose. Thousands of Japanese troops marched confidently toward the valley of Bichigogwan. They thought they saw weakness. What they didn't see was a battlefield already shaped by an ancient hand. Tempt your enemy with bait, then strike. So taught Sun Tzu centuries before this battle. As the Japanese troops entered the narrow valley, all was still. Until suddenly, the entrance closed. From the ridges above, arrows rained down. Smoke and cannon fire erupted from hidden emplacements. The valley turned into fire and chaos. Japanese soldiers scattered in panic only to find the entrance blocked. Before they could regroup, Rusong's cavalry thundered in from behind.
Charge!
Now the trap was complete. Front, flanks, and rear. There was no escape. The valley had become a crucible of death. Within hours, the enemy force was shattered. Bodies lay scattered across the rocky ground. The valley ran red. It was a decisive victory. News of the triumph spread quickly. The people of Joseon cheered. The Ming troops were reinvigorated. The myth of Japanese invincibility was broken. Rusong had won not through numbers, but through strategy and mastery of terrain. That night, Rusong stood atop the ridge, staring into the valley below. Smoke rose. Fires flickered in the darkness. His deputy approached, speaking softly.
This valley was fate general. The land gave us this victory.
Rusong answered in a low voice, his gaze fixed on the valley below.
No, the land gives nothing freely. One must understand it, to wield it.
He looked out over the mountains and spoke once more.
The earth is not neutral. It fights for those who know its shape.
To know the terrain is to never be at a disadvantage. So says the art of war. The Battle of Bichigogwan was more than a tactical victory. It was a living chapter of the art of war, a demonstration of dangerous ground, supporting ground, and the power of commanding the land itself. Rusong did not fight with brute strength. He fought with silence, timing, and insight. He let the mountains become his soldiers. He let the valley write his enemy's end. And centuries later, military scholars still study this ambush, not for its numbers, but for its lesson.
When you master the ground, you master the war.
You're watching stories of strategy, learning Sun Tzu through legends. This is China Tales. Subscribe for more stories of ancient wisdom and strategy.